Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the Roscosmos MS-25 mission, identified by NASA as ISS Progress 88 cargo spacecraft from Baikonur Cosmodrome, Site 31/6. We are awaiting for a Soyuz 2.1A liftoff at 5:43 a.m. Eastern Time, 12:43 p.m. Moscow time, and 9:43 a.m. UTC from Baikonur Cosmodrome for a launch to the ISS. Today's mission is a part of Roscosmos ISS Resupply mission. The Progress MS-27 mission will launch with a cargo mass of 2,504 kilograms to low orbit with an inclination of 51.65 degrees. Today, for the first time, a Progress spacecraft, also referred as Russian production number 457, will launch for its record-breaking 180th flight. This launch marks Roscosmos' 180th launch of a Progress spacecraft overall, and for Soyuz 2.1A vehicle, it is the 76th mission and third mission of 2024. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch. We are super excited bringing you the coverage of Roscosmos' second dedicated ISS resupply mission of the year. Prior to today's launch, a Soyuz 2.1A launched Progress MS-26, identified by NASA as ISS Progress 87 cargo spacecraft to the ISS from Baikonur Cosmodrome on 15th February 2024. Later, Progress MS-26 automatically docked with Zvezda service module at the ISS on 17 February 2024. Russian space specialists at Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan are finalizing preparation for their second cargo supply mission of 2024 to the ISS, set to launch on May 30th. The Progress MS-27 spacecraft is scheduled to dock at the Poisk module on June 1st, delivering nearly 2.5 tons of supply to the ISS Expedition 71 crew. According to Roscosmos, Progress MS-27 will deliver a total of 2,504 kilograms of cargo to the station. This includes 1,290 kilograms of hardware and equipment, material for experiments, food, clothing, and medical and hygiene supplies in its pressurized cargo compartment. Additionally, the vehicle's refueling module is filled with 754 kilograms of propellant, 420 kilograms of drinking water, and 40 kilograms of nitrogen to replenish the ISS atmosphere. The payload includes a multi-range spectrometer for Uragan remote sensing experiment, which will be installed on one of the Zvezda service module windows. This spectrometer will monitor environmental, agricultural and natural disaster conditions as well as water management and forestry. We are now 28 minutes and a half from liftoff. Meanwhile, let's talk more about Progress MS-27's cargo. Progress MS-27 also carries consumable material for ongoing experiments such as biopolymer, correctisia, neuroimmunanthen, and pilot T. Progress MS-27 was delivered to Baikonur along with Soyuz MS-25 on September 14, 2023. The launch date was initially set for April 16, 2024, but was rescheduled to May 30, 2024 by November 2023. In early January 2024, it was expected to launch on June 3rd, 2024, but the date shifted back to May 30th by mid-April 2024. Processing of the spacecraft at Site 25 in Baikonur began on March 25th, 2024. Specialists from RKK Energia removed the spacecraft from the storage and inspected it and started tests and loading cargo. On April 19th, it was moved to an anechoic chamber at Site So excuse me for having a delay on commentary. So on April 19th, it was moved to an anechoic chamber at Site 254 for autonomous electric tests of the radio equipment, while vacuum testing was completed by April 24, 2024. The spacecraft was returned to its processing rig and routine testing of solar panels took place on May 11, 2024, alongside cargo preparation. Fueling occurred from May 19 to 21st of 2024, and on May 23rd, the spacecraft was integrated with the launch vehicle adapter, which connects it to the third stage of the Soyuz rocket. On May 23rd, a traditional visual inspection of the cargo spacecraft was conducted, followed by lowering it into a horizontal position and rolling it to its Payload fairing. After additional checks, the spacecraft was transported to Site 31 on May 25, 2024. Final integration of Progress MS-27 with the launch vehicle took place at Site 31 on May 26. The State Commission cleared the vehicle for rollout to the launch pad, which occurred the next morning. Now, speaking of the today's mission launch profile, a Soyuz 2.1A rocket carrying the Progress MS-27 cargo ship is set to lift off from Pad 6 at Site 31 in Baikonur Cosmodrome on May 30th, 2024 at 5:43 a.m. Eastern Time, 12:49 p.m. Moscow time and 9:43 a.m. UTC. After a vertical liftoff, powered by combined thrust of the four RD-107 engines on the first stage and the single RD-108 engine on the second stage, the launch vehicle will head eastward. The first stage boosters will separate 1 minute and 58 seconds after liftoff at an altitude of around 43 kilometers. The payload fairing will split and drop just over a minute later at an altitude of around 91 kilometers. So I was talking about the flight profile for today. After a vertical liftoff powered by combined thrust of the four RD-107 engines on the first stage and the single RD-108 engine on the second stage, the launch vehicle will head eastward. The first stage booster will separate 1 minute and 58 seconds after liftoff at an altitude of around 43 kilometers. The payload fairing will split and drop just over a minute later at an altitude of around 91 kilometers. Meanwhile, the second stage will continue firing until 44 minutes and 47 seconds into the flight, reaching around 143 kilometers above the Earth and a speed of about 4 kilometers per second. The third stage will ignite just before the second stage separates, ensuring continuous thrust. The AFT cylindrical section of the third stage will then split into three segments and drop off. The third stage will place the cargo ship into an initial parking orbit of about 8 minutes and 49 seconds after liftoff at an altitude of around 194 kilometers. Right now we are nearly 13 minutes away from the liftoff. About the rendezvous and docking of the spacecraft, the Progress MS-27 is scheduled to automatically dock at the POSC module of the ISS on June 1st at 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time, 15:02 p.m. Moscow time and 11:47 a.m. UTC, and supporting Expedition 71 aboard the ISS. Meanwhile, we would like to welcome one of our very much old and close friend, Fairmate. Thanks for joining us the live stream. Glad that you visited us and hope you will be enjoying the stream. Also, we would like to welcome all of you who are joining us live here today for the Progress MS-27 launch. We are grateful and really thankful to you that you all took your time and visited us. Speaking of the payload, today the Progress MS-27 will be delivering at the ISS. According to Roscosmos, Progress MS-27, or you can say Progress 88, which is identified by NASA, will deliver a total of 2,504 kilograms of cargo to the station. This includes 1,290 kilograms of hardware and equipment, materials for experiment, food, clothing, and medical and hygiene supplies in its pressurized cargo compartment. Additionally, the vehicle's refueling module is filled with 754 kilograms of propellant, 420 kilograms of drinking water, and 40 kilograms of nitrogen to replenish the ISS atmosphere. The payload includes a multi-range spectrometer for the Orkan remote sensing experiment, which will be installed on one of the Zvezda service module windows. This spectrometer will monitor environmental, agriculture, and natural disaster conditions as well as water management and forestry. Progress MS-27 also carries consumable material for ongoing experiments such as biopolymer, corexia, and neuroimmunitant and pilot T experiments on board. We are awaiting for a Soyuz 2.1A liftoff at 5:43 a.m. Eastern Time, 12:43 p.m. Moscow time, and 9:43 a.m. UTC from Baikonur Cosmodrome for a launch to International Space Station. The Progress MS-27 was delivered to Baikonur along the Soyuz MS-25 on September 14, 2023. The launch date was initially set for April 16, 2024, but was rescheduled to May 30, 2024 by November 2023. In early January 2024, it was expected to launch on June 3, 2024, but the date shifted back to May 30th by mid-April 2024. Processing of the spacecraft at Site 254 in Baikonur began on March 25th, 2024, and the specialists from RKK Energia, who are the operator, removed the spacecraft from storage, inspected it, and started tests and loading cargo. On April 19th, it was moved to an anechoic chamber at Site 254 for autonomous electric tests of the radio equipments. The vacuum testing was completed by April 24, 2024, and the spacecraft was returned to its processing rig, and routine testing of solar panels took place on May 12, 2024 alongside the cargo separation. Fueling occurred from May 19 to 21st of 2024, and on May 23rd, the spacecraft was integrated with the launch vehicle adapter, which connects it to the third stage of the Soyuz rocket. On May 23rd, a traditional visual inspection of the cargo ship was conducted, followed by lowering it into a horizontal position and rolling it to its payload fairing. After additional checks, the spacecraft was transported to Site 31 on May 25th, 2024. Final integration of Progress MS-27 with the launch vehicle took place at Site 31 on May 26th. The State Commission cleared the vehicle for rollout to the launch pad, which occurred the next morning. Now please allow us a couple of seconds as we switch to NASA's stream.
coming up on the T-minus 4 minute mark. Mark T-minus 4 minutes. In about 1 minute and 15 seconds, the first stage booster will be pressurized for flight.
Is to our fair mid.
T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds and counting.
Launches
Everything is go for the launch on time at 4:42:59 a.m. Central
Time. Speaking of these Russian launches, of course, it reminds me that the very first time we met, it's of a Russian launch only.
Residual fuel now being drained from the first stage in advance of the first stage engines being pressurized for flight. T-minus 2 minutes 40 seconds.
Now we are currently at 2
And the first stage is being pressurized for flight. Again, this optimizes the flow of fuel, helping to add structural support to the rocket prior to liftoff. T-minus 2 minutes and counting. T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds. The ground propellant feed has now been terminated to the Soyuz booster. The Soyuz now on internal power. T-minus 1 minute and counting. We're about 25 seconds away from the retraction of the first of the two umbilicals buttressed up against the side of the Soyuz booster.
As we have crossed the 1 minute mark, Soyuz is now on its internal power.
T-minus 38 seconds and counting. And there is the retraction of the first umbilical. The second umbilical will retract in about 14 seconds. And the second umbilical now retracting, initiating the auto sequence start. Standing by for main engine ignition. We have main engine start.
Ignition has started.
The engines and turbo pumps coming up to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Soyuz booster, Progress 88, beginning its delivery run to the International Space Station. The Soyuz booster pitching downrange, arcing out to the northeast from the launch site. All engines up and running in good shape. Good vehicle structure reported. Performance nominal, according to the launch conductor at the blockhouse in Baikonur. Yaw, pitch, and roll, all nominal. Good structural parameters on the Soyuz booster.
Now we had a good and smooth liftoff. Vehicle are in normal health. Also the payload health is nominal. Now as we had a vertical liftoff powered by combined thrust of the 4 RD-107 engines on the first stage and a single RD-108 engine on the second stage, the launch vehicle will head eastward. The first stage booster will separate 1 minute and 58 seconds after liftoff at an altitude of around 43 kilometers. The payload fairing will split and drop just about a minute later at an altitude of around 91 kilometers. The second stage will continue firing until 4 minutes and 47 seconds into the flight, reaching around 143 kilometers above the Earth at a speed of about 4 kilometers per second. The third stage will ignite just before the second stage separates, ensuring continuous thrust, and the AFT cylindrical section of the third stage will then split into 3 segments and drop off. The third stage will place the cargo ship into an initial parking orbit around 8 minutes and 49 seconds after liftoff at an altitude of around 194 kilometers. And speaking of the rendezvous and the docking of the spacecraft, the Progress MS-27 is scheduled to automatically dock at the Poisk module of the ISS on June 1st, 2024 at 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time, which will be 15:02 p.m. Moscow time and 11:47 a.m. UTC, supporting Expedition 71 aboard the ISS.
Reported to be nominal from the blockhouse in Baikonur. This view now from a camera on the upper stage of the Soyuz booster. 4 minutes into the flight, about 37 seconds until second stage shutdown. Good performance from the second stage engine reported by the flight controllers. Four minutes, 24 seconds into the flight. Standing by for second stage shutdown.
We are getting nice views from space.
There is the third stage skirt jettison. And the third stage engine is up and running. It will burn for 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Vehicle is stable. All parameters are normal. 5 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. About 3.5 minutes of powered flight remaining. Good third stage performance. Liftoff was timed perfectly, right on time at 4:42 and 59 seconds a.m. Central Time, which was 2:42 and 59 seconds p.m. at the launch site in Baikonur.
We are now 6 minutes into the flight, and
everything proceeding on track.
Everything is proceeding as
Yaw,
scheduled,
pitch and roll for the third stage is right on the money. The third stage engine continues to perform as advertised at the 6-minute 30-second mark into the flight, about 2 minutes and 20 seconds of powered flight remaining. Again, this video from a camera on the upper stage of the Soyuz booster. At third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation, the Progress will be inserted into a preliminary orbit about 125 miles above the Earth. Again, a series of engine firings will slowly increase the altitude of the Progress to match that of the International Space Station. 7 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, about 90 seconds of powered flight remaining.
We are now having only 90 seconds of powered flight remaining for today's flight.
The flight continues to proceed in nominal fashion according to the flight controllers in Baikonur at the 7-minute 45-second mark into the flight, about 1 minute of powered flight remaining.
Now only 1 minute of powered flight remaining. This view you are getting from the upper stage of the vehicle.
The vehicle is stable. All third engine parameters are normal at the 8-minute 25-second mark into the flight. We're about 20 seconds away from third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation.
20 seconds away from
yaw, pitch and roll, all nominal.
20 seconds away from third stage shutdown.
Standing by for third stage shutdown.
And here we go. We have the
third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. The Progress now in its preliminary orbit. Hopefully we will get a view here momentarily of solar array deploy. And there go the solar arrays.
We got to see third stage separation and the spacecraft separation. After that, we had this solar arrays to be deployed.
And the solar arrays and navigational antenna now confirmed to have been deployed. So a perfect launch for the Soyuz booster, delivering the Progress 88 cargo craft into its preliminary orbit, and the 2-day chase to reach the International Space Station now underway. And there's our first view from the external camera on the Progress vehicle, the familiar cross-haired engineering view that shows the preliminary functioning of all of the elements on the Progress resupply vehicle. It was a very smooth, uneventful 8-minute, 49-second ride from the launch pad to its preliminary orbit. Progress 88 now on its way for a docking on Saturday morning to the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the International Space Station.
This view we are getting from the external camera on the spacecraft. As you heard, the Progress MS-27 is scheduled to automatically dock at the POISC module of the ISS on June 1st, 2024 at 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time, 15:02 p.m. Moscow time, and 11:47 a.m. UTC. Now the spacecraft is in its preliminary orbit.
And the flight controllers now at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow reporting a good activation of the Progress's core's automated rendezvous system. That will come into play in earnest on Saturday morning during the terminal phase of the rendezvous. This is Mission Control Houston. Just to recap, the Soyuz 2.1A booster launched on time at 4:42 and 59 seconds a.m. Central Time, which was 2:42 and 59 seconds p.m. at the launch site at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. It was a smooth ride to orbit for the three-stage Soyuz booster. 8 minutes and 49 seconds after launch, the Progress 88 cargo craft was deployed from the third stage of the Soyuz booster, now in its preliminary orbit, to begin a 2-day journey to the International Space Station. Looking ahead to Saturday, we will begin our rendezvous and docking coverage for the Progress 88 at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. The docking schedule for 6:47 a.m. Central, 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday morning. The Progress to automatically link up to the POISC module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Right on the heels of the conclusion of that, we will segue into our coverage of the Boeing Starliner crew flight test launch. That coverage to begin at 7:15 a.m. Central Time, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, leading to a launch of the Atlas V rocket from Pad 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida to deliver Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams on their 24-hour journey to the International Space Station, and a docking on Sunday afternoon to the forward port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. So once again, a very smooth and clean flight of the Soyuz booster, Progress 88, now safely in its preliminary orbit, headed for a Saturday morning docking to the International Space Station. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll see you again on Saturday morning with our twin bill coverage of Progress's docking to the station and the crew flight test launch.
So as we wrap up our coverage for today's mission, just for a recap, we had a beautiful and swift launch of Progress 88 cargo spacecraft from Baikonur Cosmodrome, Site 31, Pad 6. The liftoff took place at 5:43 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:43 p.m. Moscow time, and 9:43 UTC from Baikonur Cosmodrome for a launch to the International Space Station. Today's launch marks the record-breaking 180th flight of a Progress spacecraft, and for Soyuz 2.1A launch vehicle, it was the 76th mission and third mission of 2024. As you have heard on the stream about the rendezvous and docking, Progress MS-27 is scheduled to automatically dock at the Poisk module of ISS on June 1st, 2024 at 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time, 15:02 p.m. Moscow time, and 11:47 a.m. UTC, which will be supporting Expedition 71 aboard the ISS. Now with that, we will be wrapping up our coverage for today. We want to thank all of you joining us with today's launch, and we hope you all enjoyed the stream. Once again, thanks for joining us. Also would like to thank to Fairmaid for being with us and supporting us as always. And to Fairmaid, I am referring that actually we won't be broadcasting the docking and rendezvous of this Progress spacecraft because we will be streaming for the Starliner crew flight test. Once again, thanks for joining us, showing your such patience, love and understanding, staying till the end. We are glad to have you all here with us. This is AstroYonder Live and me Dipta signing off for now, and we will see you next time.